have you participated in other podcast interviews?
Many.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, then this will be a good experience that you can give us feedback also on how we structure it, how, when you see good podcasts versus not so good podcasts. So first, we can introduce you and then introduce Lea and also introduce our podcast. This is FTW Fearless Conversations.
All right.
And so, for example, my my inclination is the first thing I need to do, or Lea, is to introduce you, our guest, right?
Good instincts, Mariano. Good instincts.
Okay, okay. So since I've known Andre for many, many years, he's been he's been a mentor for me when I started my own business, and I also hired him as a consultant, and he helped me kind of handle my nerves and my anxiety in times of very fast change. I was growing, hiring people almost weekly or monthly, and then there was all the drama of hiring new people and having a good team in place. So he went through all that. Also, he has an unbelievable personal experience and his adaptation to physical change. He was very successful CEO of the biggest hotels here in Denver and the Denver Athletic Club. And we worked together when I started my organization for Argentinians called Casa Argentina. So we did events together in his clubs and things like that. So we had that relationship. And then he had this personal situation that he started to become blind, very, very fast. It was just days, a couple of weeks where he didn't even know what was happening. He tried to talk to all these experts, and they just, he's got a special condition, and he's legally blind. But he was very active. He was active in skiing and biking and hiking, all this stuff, and he was able to adapt to that. So, was that a good introduction, Andre?
That's great. That's
Okay.
great.
Thank you. Like from 1 to 10, where am I?
Sorry, what was that?
Yeah, from a 1 to 10 introduction, where am I?
Oh, let's say 7.
Oh shoot. Okay. Okay, we'll talk about that later. You help me refine it a little bit. Okay, so did you want to know a little bit about Lea, or?
Absolutely.
Well, I'm so curious. I want to just jump in and start asking you questions, Andre. I'm just so fascinated. The way Mariano and I have met is I'm an acting teacher, and I help people to read behavior and follow their instincts and basically become more authentic with who they are so they can live truthfully on stage or on camera, which in turn helps people in, many areas. So Mariano has come to me, and he's been taking a class with me for 1.5 years, an acting course. And then out of this, all these other creative ventures have popped up, and then I get to meet interesting people like you. So I'm just happy to be here and to learn more about you. I mean, you're an accomplished businessman. I've done so much in your life, and I can tell just by your presence and your essence that you have such a good mindset. I can feel that. I really feel your energy. So do you want to share a little bit about, who you are and what your story is? And
Sure. I will not go to my great-great-grandfather, and but I was born in Buenos Aires, in Argentina, and I did my military service. It was compulsory, and after boot camp, I ended up being a waiter for the officers. Fell in love with the idea of the hospitality industry. So I left for Germany as soon as I finished my military service, and I started working at that literally was one of the top 10 hotels in the world, the Hotel 4 Jahreszeit in Hamburg, in Germany. It started as a pot washer, dishwasher, and then moved up for 2.5 years. All the positions you can imagine in a hotel. And then my GM sent me to the Ritz in Paris, another one of the top 10 hotels in the world. And I lived in the hotel. And then I got accepted at Cornell University to study hotel management. And I came to the States to do that. And then I stayed here. And I worked in hotels in New York City, in Miami, in Washington, D.C., in Burlington, Vermont, Atlanta, Louisville, Kentucky, and now here in Denver.
Wow.
And as Mariano says, hobbies were
a pretty boring life.
very boring, very boring.
Well, it sounds like you had your degree in hotel and hospitality before you went and did that. I mean, it's like you were already at the Ritz in Paris.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And so I speak 5 languages, and I have 2 kids, 2 grandkids, and and then 10 years ago I went suddenly blind, and it's called non-arteritic anterior ischemic optic neuropathy. So my eyes are perfect. There's nothing wrong with my eyes, but the connection to the brain is broken. The optic nerve died. So when they take pictures inside of my eye, my optic nerve should look like a rope, and mine's literally just a filament. So I perceive light and shapes. Which is a huge help. It's a lot better than nothing. And so I'm very grateful for what I have. And so I lost my job after I went blind. So I reinvented myself as a speaker. And now I travel the country speaking on change and linking it to curiosity. When I started my business, I could have called myself CEO, president, or whatever, but no, my title is the Curiosity Instigator.
Ooh, I love that.
And it's funny because yesterday at my Rotary Club, I had to give the, whatever we call it, the inspirational moment. And what I talked about is that throughout history, we have thought that my God is better than your God. And therefore, if you don't accept my God, you're going to burn in eternal hell. And if you don't convert to my God, I'm going to put you to the sword or whatever, right? And but for centuries, we didn't know any better because we were uneducated. We couldn't read. There were no books on print. So we were sent like lambs to the slaughter to fight for the visions, whatever, of just a tiny little elite. And in today's world, as we shift a little bit away from religion, but then we've become more fanatical about our parties, and that we are now so fanatical about our parties that my party is the righteous one and yours is the wrong one. And now we have the information. Now we can challenge it, but we're too lazy. We're too lazy to verify what is coming at us, and we just take one slice of information of the people that speak our language, that just say what we need to hear and nothing more. So I say that there's one word that is the remedy to all of this, and that is curiosity. And, Einstein was asked, how come you're so smart? And his answer was, I'm not smart, I'm relentlessly curious. So my mission is to spread the gospel of relentless curiosity, that if we become curious about each other and come to podcasts and talk about the things that matter to us and spread the word and encourage people, say, okay, fine, you heard this, but then you verify it, okay? But let's talk about it. I need to hear your point of view. I really want to see, can you convince me even a little bit that maybe I need to shift my position?
Oh, I love that so much. That's such a powerful way too to frame it, the curiosity, because then you're just open. Mariano and I talk about that a lot. Like, you don't have to agree with somebody. And as a matter of fact, it's even more poignant when you disagree, because that's where a learning can happen. So the curiosity is like, that is it right there. It's like, you don't have to agree or don't even make decisions. Just be curious. Investigate. That is so, so great.
So I was very fortunate, and I met the Dalai Lama, and one of the things that he said that I love and I use in my presentation is that he says, when I speak, I repeat stuff I already know. But when I listen, I may learn something new.
Mm.
So it's the art of listening, the art of being curious, of posing questions. When you get into a situation with your child, instead of talk, all they hear is wah, 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 right? And so listen, ask them questions. Tell me more. I'm curious. Why do you feel this way? Why are you going in this direction? What is prompting you? What are your friends saying? Okay, and ask the questions and seek to understand rather than seek to preach.
That's so
Yeah.
good.
So Andre, a couple of things. One, I invited my nephew to join this. So I don't know, at some point we'll have my nephew who's like 25 years old, starting his business. He's the son of immigrants, Argentinian immigrants, my sister. And I like to, it's spontaneous. This invitation is spontaneous because this was just focused on you, but I like what you're talking about and bringing in my nephew because she can learn from this type of conversations. So that's one. So I don't even know when, but it's going to happen. So just a heads up on that. And then the other thing, when you mentioned, I love the curiosity thing, and you know, you used to be, well, are you comfortable talking about your political views?
Absolutely.
Okay, good. So you used to be, most of your professional life, or adult life, you were a Republican.
I was.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about that.
Well, you know, in 1985, I spent 10 minutes by myself with President Reagan.
Yeah.
And the charm of that man, the vision of that man, and his selfless, self-deprecating approach to speaking, and how he made his visions contagious. Now, were there Iran-Contra issues during his administration, and were the things that were shameful? No question. But I loved his approach, and the trickle-down economics were no, okay, but he had a vision, and I think he convinced the country that it was a righteous one. It was during his administration that the Iron Curtain came down, and it allowed the American idealism, I think, to go around the world from an approachable president. And so I fell in love with the idea of fiscal conservancy. Okay, and I feel we should have a safety net. If something happens to me, I want a safety net to be there and to catch me. But I can't be on that net for the rest of my life. At some point in time, I need to get myself off this net and pick up the pieces and do something. And I think that sort of has been the concept of the Republican Party is we'll help you, but you need to be able to stand up on your own. And as opposed to the Democratic Party that is more and more about programs and about hand-holding people and coddling people and enabling people to remain in certain behavior. And so those were the principles, I think, that sold me on the Republican Party. But as of late, I have completely transitioned. I am 100% for women's rights. I'm 100% for women's choice. I am 100% for gay rights. I'm 100% against for gun control. Okay. So the Republican Party has been hijacked, I believe, by the Christian conservative right, and has changed the agenda of the party, and has made it so anti-stuff. It's not for stuff, it's against stuff.
Okay, so let me ask you, I mean, I agree with all of that, but the way I think what's unique about you is that you still have, from what I understand, you still have a Republican friends, and then you have Democrat friends, and you kind of you don't just want to, again, because of this mindset of curiosity and listening, the art of listening, that you don't want to lock yourself into one group and blaming the other, right? So you're able to navigate between these two ideologies, right?
Yep.
And that's, I'd love to know more about that, because that's, I have Republican friends and have Democrat friends, and it's easier, obviously, to be with people that believe the same way. But all you're doing with them is just, we just agree and agree, and everything's great because we agree. The challenging for me, in my personality and expressing my views, is with somebody that doesn't agree with me, without making it personal, emotional, like, when you start attacking each other. And
Yeah.
I've had a few, I've had some friendships where we stopped talking for a while. One of them, it wasn't a very, very close friendship, but we don't talk anymore. Okay, that's one example where the friendship wasn't that strong, and we just didn't want to deal with the other person, like saying Trump is great, and I'm saying, well, what about this and that? Okay, and then the other ones were long-term friendships that there was strain. There was a lot of strain in there because we started clashing, and the friendship was tested. But I'm trying to use this curiosity or empathy or listening to say, look, let's not fall into making them feel like they're wrong, or that they can't see the truth and stuff, right? So tell me, I'd love to listen to hear about your thoughts about that.
Well, I'll give you one example. Okay, so I do big bike rides, and I do them on a tandem. And the captain, the guy that rides with me, is fairly conservative. And we were talking about Denmark and what is happening in Denmark, and how they have great social security, if you want to call it that, okay, and how education and healthcare and stuff like that is being handled. And we completely disagreed because, again, this is a little bit me being a little bit more liberal on that point of view. And then I said, but if we want to embrace European kind of socialism, it's not communism, okay? But if we want to embrace the European model, we have to tax at the European level. We can't. The Democrats are trying to say, hey, we're going to give you free education, we're going to give you free healthcare, but nobody has the guts to say, but we have to tax you at that level. But when you look at Denmark, Sweden, Holland, they're taxed high, but they don't pay for university for their kids, right? Their healthcare is significantly less expensive than ours. Retirement is taken care of. So all of these other things that we have to pay for, okay, what if you added all of those up and said, okay, so if this was part of a tax? But he completely disagreed with me. And he says, no, that Denmark is bankrupt, and that it's not working, and that the people out there, that businesses are going bankrupt. So I said, okay, I accept the challenge. I want you to give me 3 articles from a reputable, non right-leaning or left-leaning source that reinforces what you told me. Okay, and I will do the same. I will search for 3 articles, and mine might be a little bit more liberal than yours. Yours might be a little bit more conservative, but it cannot be from the Trump.org website, okay? And we took the dialogue away from the bicycle to communicating over email, sending each other articles. And I think we both learned from the experience. I don't think that either one has moved into the other's direction significantly, but we both learned, and he's the one I think that ended up learning more, that some of the stuff that he was hearing was fake news.
That's a really, what a great exercise. I mean, that's a tremendous way to communicate. And again, because it comes back to the curiosity, that's where we're shutting people down and not listening, because we want to demonize no, you're wrong. And then we don't get anywhere.
No, we don't get anywhere.
Regardless, and I don't speak on my political views. In some ways nowadays, you almost can't not speak on them just because it's so in your face everywhere. But because I wanted to create a place that actually welcomed everybody, regardless of your views. And
Yes.
so, I don't do political pieces and things like that. Mariano's screenplay, which is started as a play that we were going to produce in a theater until COVID and all that. But it touches on political issues because he's talking about LGBTQ and, different biases that we might have and all these different things. But the reason why I wanted to be involved with it is because Mariano's not taking the stance of I'm high up on the mound telling everybody else how to behave properly and how to treat people, because I don't like that, because I don't think any of us have it down. It's like, this is a messy thing. We all have biases. We all have, this stuff, and we got to look at it.
Yeah.
That's really,
Well, you gave, yeah, that's amazing, Lea. And also, just to add to this, the screenplay is that I introduced a Republican friend, a Christian Republican friend, and we have discussions about a little bit, about religion and ideology, because we're very different from that point of view. But we still, and we've been challenged by crossing the Andes and almost dying. So there's some of that drama, but still the friendship. You focus on the humanity, like the other person being. The way I see it, he's a great leader. He's a great father. He's a great husband. He's been a great friend, generous. And so if you look at all these things that, who cares if he's Republican Christian, because he has all these amazing qualities, then that's what I'm hoping he sees in me, that even though I don't agree with him with his religious views and political views, that we can focus on the things that maybe are more important. And but sometimes, because it's so heated, the debate, and you see, and I guess social media puts, the bubble of social media, where I get bombarded about my political things attacking the other side, and showing all the crazy stuff on the other side, and the things they're saying, and the laws that they want to pass against LGBTQ, against women, and attacking Democrats. So I am triggered. Emotionally, I'm triggered like that, and sometimes I see the other side as the enemy. So I have to kind of calm down. I like the approach of saying, hey, let's find objective information, and then look at the facts. Is Denmark and Sweden and Holland and all these countries, are they bankrupt, or do they have long lines? I mean, let's get the facts, and let's see if those people would rather go into private medicine, or they love their medicine. Like, ask the people, right? I mean, so you come up with these articles. It takes a little bit of work. It takes research, and you kind of do it because you say, well, this relationship is worth it. Like, you want to try to connect with this captain of the bicycle team because you have something in common that you guys enjoy, right?
Yeah.
But it takes us, like, some people, it's they bog down into this kind of tribe, whether it's their church and every other church is wrong because it's just their church and their group of people, or their party, where the party now is just, it's all about being anti-democrat. They don't even, I mean, that's the way I see it. But sometimes I would like to be better at being able to disagree without offending too much, the other person, so we can keep that friendship and we can keep the dialogue going. And I feel like you have that. It's a little bit of that Dalai Lama type of quality, or you can not, when you feel your emotions are getting heated, but you try to keep calm and keep trying to listen, right? That's the skill.
Yes, absolutely. But the thing is, the art of the compromise is, look, if you believe that abortion is murder, it'll be nearly impossible for me to convince you to take a position of saying, I'm really curious about your point of view, and if I think that women's rights are inalienable, you can't force a woman to have a baby. Okay, how do we compromise? Okay, how do we? It's nearly impossible. Some debates, the positions are so entrenched. But the important thing is that we realize that what we can do is agree to disagree, right? And we don't have to see things in the same, what do you call this, the same point of view. And here I in my talk, I put this picture up.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's great.
You're not going anywhere like that. Yeah.
You're not going anywhere. And so are you listening to your partners, to your team members, to whether it's an organization or so? In that bicycle, if the captains are the Democrats and the Republicans are the stokers, they're both patriots, and they're both convinced my way is the way to save the country. But if they're not humble, if they're not willing to hear each other, and what happens if we've created a monster when we have done redistricting, and now you are coming from a district where your seat as a Republican is guaranteed, and now you go to Washington bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and ready to begin to change things, and the party tells you, wait a minute, your view on that is too liberal. Toe the party line, or we won't support you for your re-election. Toe the party line, or you won't get on any influential committees, and you won't be able to get anything done here. So the party browbeats you into submission. And even though your intentions are truly great, we need to dismantle this thing where you're guaranteed a seat. The party lines that are, when you see the maps that we draw, it's ridiculous. And so we're removing our elected officials' ability to speak their mind. And it's so visible with this whole Trump thing, okay? How can an intelligent, educated politician still assert that the election was stolen? How can you?
You know
but
what
Trump said, go ahead.
This is a little, just to circle back just a tiny bit on what you were saying before, what I've thought would be such a fascinating thing is if we just took away the parties for a minute and we had, candidates, we didn't even know what party they were with. You had to research the policies, you had to research, and we just all voted on policies and then shake it out to see, oh my God, I didn't know I voted or whatever, right? Because also what I find weird is how, because there are certain things I agree with and certain things I don't. I don't know how you can go, okay, this whole lump sum of everything, I'm on board. You know what I mean? It's like, why is that why does that have to be this party is this and this party is this, when we're really talking about policies and what could maybe work and not, and I don't think either one of them have it, to be totally honest. You know what I mean?
I agree. And that's why I think, this is, of course, kind of those utopian kind of thinking. But what if we demanded that our politicians have to first think of humanity, then think of the United States, then think of the party, and then of themselves? Okay. And that it has to come in this order. But of course, they do it the other way around. First comes me, then comes party, then comes country, then comes humanity.
Well, and
And
a lot of it now is celebrity. It's like some people are politicians because they want, I don't even know that they're interested in helping the country or the world. I think they just want fame,
Yeah.
it's
So, Andre, on this thing, because it's so complex, and
because I think it also does, you mentioned something about, nobody's humble. And when you're humble, you can have that curiosity. And so to come back to, your journey and going blind suddenly, I think it comes down to also when we don't take the victim stance, like somebody's doing something to me or taking something from me, then maybe we can listen because we can get a little more less defensive. So you want to share maybe just a little bit about how you or maybe you did take a victim. I mean, I can't imagine just going blind. It's like that's something we take for granted, our eyesight, many of us.
Yeah,
So can you
yeah.
tell me a little bit about that?
Well, I went blind in 2 weeks. So I went from sighted to blind in 2 weeks. So it was sudden, right? And what I do in my talk, I say that I realized I needed to learn to use a cane. So I went to the store and I asked the guy, how do I learn to use a cane? And he says, oh, you're going to go to the Colorado Division of Vocational Rehabilitation. They're going to give you a caseworker who's going to give you a trainer. Whoa. I'm going like, me? A trainer? I mean, a caseworker? That's insulting. I don't need a caseworker. When I say caseworker, what comes to your mind, right? I mean, somebody who's destitute and who needs to have somebody who manages their case because they're unable to manage themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, and what I said is I judged that instead of assessing it. Okay, I just my prejudices, my preconceived ideas about what a caseworker is, instead of assessing and saying I can do it on my own. Now, I belong to a group, a Bible study group, and a few months before this, we had been talking about what is humility, and the definition that I like the best is the ability to accept help. And boy, was I not a humble man. Right. So my executive team wrote a letter to the board of directors saying, whatever Andre can't do, we will pick up the slack. Okay. And rather than being humbled by their awesome gesture of support, I felt humiliated. What do you mean I can't do? Mm-hmm. Okay. So yes, we have to learn humility. And in life, as I do my talks, I was talking to the group of CEOs, and then this woman said, wait a minute, I'm an engineer. I am the owner, CEO of an engineering firm. I'm the only woman engineer. If I show my engineers humility and I say, I don't know this, they'll eat me alive. And then I went to the group and I said, okay, group, I'm not going to preach here. I want you to tell her, what do you think? And the consensus was humility is strength. Okay. When you go to the team and you say, you know what, guys, I don't know the answer to that. Okay. Why do you tell me? Why do you educate me? When I was made general manager of a hotel for the first time, I panicked. I'm going like, I came up through the rooms division. Okay. I don't know how to go to the kitchen and turn on the big rotary oven and cook a steamship round. And I have no idea how to go to accounting and start the computer and print a payroll check. I have no idea how to go and maintain an air handler. So I can think of more that I don't know than I do know in a hotel. So how can I be a general manager? And my team is going to see through me. And my mentor told me, he says, Andre, it's not about knowing the answers. It's about knowing what questions to ask. Be curious, ask questions. And that was such a revelation for me.